The cry behind the door. The old station floated in silence, broken and forgotten. Deep in the dark of space, rust covered the walls, wires sparked from broken panels, and air vents hissed like snakes. The smell of burned metal hung heavy, and each step echoed like a warning. Jared, a human scavenger, walked slowly through the narrow corridor. His boots crunched against shattered glass, his lamp cut through the shadows, but the darkness behind him always felt alive. He had come here searching for scrap, old machines, wires, maybe a power core to sell. But what he found was something else, something that made his skin crawl. At first it was faint. A whisper carried through the vents, weak and trembling. "Help. Please, someone." Jared stopped, his heart jumped. He turned off his lamp for a moment, listening. The station should have been empty. No one had lived here for decades, yet the sound came again. This time clearer. "Open the door." "Human, free me!" The voice was desperate, female, and filled with pain. Jared felt his stomach twist. He moved toward the sound, following the faint echo. The deeper he went, the colder the air grew. Frost clung to the walls, and strange glowing lines pulsed faintly on the floor. Finally, he reached a heavy metal door. Unlike the rest of the station, this one was strong, untouched by rust. Its surface shone faintly under his light, as if it had been built to last forever. Jared pressed his ear against it. "Please." The girl's voice cried again, weak but full of fear. "Don't leave me here. They will come back." Jared pulled away, breathing hard. His hands trembled. Whoever she was locked inside, but why? Who would trap someone here in this dead station? So far from any world. He looked around. The corridor was filled with silent machines, black eyes of cameras hanging like dead insects. He didn't like it. It felt wrong, like the station itself was watching him. "Who are you?" Jared asked, his voice low. I don't know if I can trust you," the girl answered softly. "But I have no choice. Please open the door. My captors want what's in my blood. They will return. And if they find me again, I will not survive." Her words hit him like ice. Jared frowned. He was just a scavenger. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a fighter. Freeing her could bring danger. Maybe soldiers, maybe worse. He should walk away. Pretend he never heard her voice. But something inside him whispered louder. Humans didn't walk away from cries for help. Not when life was on the line. Jared studied the door again. It was thick, reinforced with strange alien locks. Symbols ran across its surface, glowing faintly as if alive. He touched it, and the metal felt warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. Behind it, the girl sobbed quietly. He could hear the pain in her voice and the fear that she would be forgotten here. His lamp flickered. A cold breeze moved down the corridor, carrying with it the faint hum of machines waking. Jared's instincts screamed at him. This place wasn't as dead as it seemed. Someone still had control. Someone might already know he was here. He pulled out his old data pad, linking wires to the alien lock. The screen filled with strange symbols, lines twisting and shifting like snakes. He cursed under his breath. This wasn't normal tech. It was alive, almost fighting against him. "Please, hurry." The voice begged again, this time weaker. "I'm trying," Jared muttered. His fingers worked fast, sweat dripping down his forehead. "But if I open this, and you're dangerous." "I'm not your enemy," she whispered. "I was stolen, caged because of what I carry. If you leave me, they will use me, and when they do, many will die." Her words echoed through him, louder than the alarms that suddenly began to hum in the walls. Red lights blinked to life above the corridor. Shadows stretched long, and the air filled with the sound of machines moving. Someone knew, someone had seen. Jared's heart raced. He had no more time to think. His fingers tapped the last command. Sparks flew, and the heavy door gave a low hiss. Steam rushed out cold and sharp. The girl's hand appeared first, thin and trembling, glowing faintly as if her blood carried light. Then her face, pale, beautiful and tired. Her eyes met his, shining like liquid silver. "You came," she whispered, tears falling. "I thought no one would hear me." But before Jared could answer, the ground beneath them rumbled. Heavy steps echoed in the distance. The station was not empty anymore. Jared realized the truth. He hadn't just opened a door. He had stepped into something far bigger, far darker than he could imagine, and now there was no turning back. The door slid open wider with a groan, cold mist spilling out. Jared helped the alien girl step into the corridor. Her body shook, weak and thin. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, as if tiny sparks of silver moved beneath it. Her silver eyes blinked slowly, adjusting to the faint red glow of the alarm lights. She tried to stand tall, but her knees buckled. Jared quickly caught her. Her bones felt too light, too fragile, as though she had lived in a cage for far too long. "You're safe now," Jared whispered. Though even he wasn't sure it was true. No. Her voice cracked. "Not safe. Never safe." "They will come, they always come." Jared guided her toward the wall, letting her lean against the cold metal. His eyes darted around the corridor, searching for danger. The alarms were louder now, pulsing through the old station like a heartbeat. "What's your name?" he asked, trying to keep her awake. She hesitated, her lips trembling. "Lyra," she said at last. "They called me Lyra, though I don't know if it is mine. They took even that from me." Jared nodded. The name felt right, gentle yet sharp. Like her voice. "Why were you locked up?" Jared asked. His words were careful, but his mind burned with questions. Lyra lowered her head. Her silver hair fell forward, hiding her face. Then she lifted her trembling hand and pointed at the glowing machines inside the cell. Jared stepped closer and saw them clearly now. Tall cylinders filled with strange fluid, broken tubes scattered across the floor, screens flickered with alien writing, graphs moving endlessly in the center. One image glowed brighter than the rest, a scan of Lyra's blood, magnified thousands of times. Even Jared, no scientist, understood it was something powerful. The patterns inside her cells were not normal. They pulsed like lightning, forming shapes that seemed alive. "What is this?" Jared muttered. Lyra's voice was heavy with pain. "My blood, it is different. They call it the chain of life, the chain of death. I do not fully understand, but they want it. They think it can make them stronger, heal their sickness, make them live forever." Jared froze, his breath caught. He stared at the glowing patterns on the screen. "Your DNA?" Lyra nodded weakly, her silver eyes filled with sorrow. "Yes, they will kill entire worlds just to own it. That is why they hunted me, why they put me in chains if they succeed. The galaxy will bleed for it." The words struck him like a blade. He was only a scavenger, a man looking for scrap to sell, and now he stood next to a girl whose very blood was worth more than planets. The ground trembled suddenly. Metal groaned as footsteps echoed through the corridors. Jared snapped his head toward the sound. Heavy boots, too many, marching in rhythm. "They're here," Lyra whispered, her voice shaking. "They always find me." Jared cursed under his breath. He looked at her fragile body. She could barely walk. Her thin arms clutched at her stomach as though even standing drained her life away. She would not survive if he left her behind. He grabbed her arm, pulling her close. "Then we move." Lyra's eyes widened. You would protect me?" Jared almost laughed, not from humor, but from disbelief. "I don't know why," he admitted, "but I won't let them take you back." They moved quickly, Jared supporting most of her weight. His lamp flickered as they entered a wider passage. The alarms painted the walls red. Every shadow looked like a soldier waiting to strike. Behind them, the sound of boots grew louder. Closer, the hunters were not far. Lyra stumbled, almost falling. Jared steadied her. "Just a little further," he said, though he didn't even know where they were going. He only knew they had to keep moving. As they turned a corner, a drone swooped down from the ceiling. Its red eye glowed, targeting them. Jared reacted fast. Grabbing a broken pipe from the floor, with a sharp swing, he smashed it against the drone. Sparks exploded, and the machine crashed to the ground. Lyra gasped, fear and awe in her silver eyes. Jared pulled her forward again, his chest tightened with urgency. If drones were active, the hunters were already in full control. They reached an old chamber filled with cracked glass and burned consoles. Jared pushed Lyra behind cover. He could hear the mercenaries' voices now, deep, alien tones echoing through the corridors. "They've opened the cage," one growled. "The sample is loose. Find it, kill the human. Bring the girl." Lyra's eyes closed, her hands shaking. "You should leave me. They will not stop, not for you." Jared's jaw tightened. His grip on the pipe was firm. "Maybe," he said. "But you asked me to open the door and I did. I won't stop now." Lyra looked at him as though seeing something impossible. A human who chose to fight for her instead of running. The sound of boots thundered closer. Shadows stretched across the chamber wall. The hunters were seconds away. Jared turned to Lyra, his eyes sharp. "Then tell me, how do we fight them? What can you do?" Lyra swallowed hard, her voice trembling. I don't know how to use it, but my blood, it burns like fire when I'm near death." Jared gave a tight smile. Then let's make sure we both stay alive long enough to see that. The door on the far side of the chamber blasted open. Armed mercenaries storming in, their weapons glowed blue, their armor heavy, their eyes locked on Lyra, not even seeing Jared as a threat. But Jared stood tall in front of her, gripping the pipe like a blade. His heart pounded, yet his voice was steady. They'll have to go through me first. And as the mercenaries raised their weapons, the old station shook, sparks raining down. The battle for Lyra's freedom had truly begun. The chamber shook as the mercenaries stormed in. Their armor gleamed in the red light, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Jared's grip tightened on the broken pipe in his hand. He was no soldier, but he had no choice. He had to fight. "Take the girl," one of the mercenaries barked. "The human is nothing." Lyra froze behind Jared, her silver eyes wide with terror. Jared could feel her trembling. He raised the pipe, heart racing. His mind screamed that he was outmatched, but his body refused to back away. The first mercenary stepped forward, weapon humming. Jared hurled the pipe with all his strength. It slammed into the alien's helmet with a loud crack. The mercenary stumbled, sparks flying. Jared grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her through the side passage before the others could fire. "Run!" Jared shouted, his voice echoing through the metallic corridor. They sprinted down the narrow hall, Lyra stumbling with every step. Her weak body struggled to keep up, but Jared didn't let go. His chest burned as he pushed himself faster. Behind them, the mercenaries' heavy boots thundered closer. Energy bolts slammed into the walls around them. Sparks exploding. Metal panels glowed red where the shots hit. Jared ducked low, shielding Lyra with his body. "This way," he yelled, spotting a stairwell ahead. They rushed down the steps. The sound of the enemy growing louder above, the corridor twisted endlessly. Broken doors hanging open, pipes leaking steam. The old station groaned as if alive, every corner carrying the echo of pursuit. Jared's lungs ached, sweat pouring down his face. Still, he dragged Lyra forward. Her voice came in broken gasps. "I can't keep running. You have to," Jared panted. "Just a little more." They burst into a wider passage lined with shattered glass. Long dead plants lay scattered in cracked soil beds. It had once been a greenhouse, but now it was only shadows and dust. Jared looked around, desperate for escape. Then he saw it, an emergency hatch half buried under debris. He rushed over, kicking metal scraps away behind them. The mercenaries entered the greenhouse, their glowing eyes scanning. Their leader raised a clawed hand, pointing straight at the humans. "There. Do not damage the girl." Plaster fire lit up the greenhouse, beams slicing through the air. Jared shoved Lyra toward the hatch. "Go! Crawl through." Lyra hesitated, fear holding her still. Jared grabbed her shoulders, forcing his voice steady. "Do you trust me?" She stared into his eyes, trembling, and then nodded, dropping to her knees. She crawled into the narrow hatch. Jared followed quickly, pulling the cover shut behind them. The tunnel was dark, so narrow they had to crawl on hands and knees. Dust choked the air and wires brushed against their faces. Jared's lamp flickered weakly, throwing long shadows across the walls from behind. Muffled voices echoed through the hatch. The mercenaries were searching, metal boots clanging against the floor. "Faster," Jared whispered, pushing Lyra forward. His shoulders scraped against the narrow walls. Sweat stung his eyes. The tunnel sloped downward, leading them into the lower levels of the station. Finally, they dropped into a wide corridor filled with old cargo crates. Jared helped Lyra to her feet. She leaned heavily against him, her breath shallow. "We can't keep this up," Jared muttered, scanning the area. Then he saw movement. 3 drones flying in from the far end, their red eyes glowing. The machines darted forward, firing small bursts of plasma. Jared dragged Lyra behind a crate. The blasts scorched the metal, sending sparks flying. He peeked out, spotting loose cables hanging from the ceiling. With a sharp tug, he yanked them down. The live wires crackled with blue sparks. Jared swung them toward the drones. Electricity arced through the air, frying their systems. The drones screeched before collapsing to the floor. Smoke rising, Lyra gasped, staring at him in shock. "You fight like you've done this before." Jared shook his head, panting. "No, I just make things up as I go." She almost smiled despite the fear. "That is very human." The moment of quiet ended as more footsteps thundered closer. Jared cursed, pulling her along. "We're not done yet." They ran deeper into the cargo bay, past crates covered in alien markings. Jared's eyes darted everywhere, looking for an exit. Then he spotted a flicker of light ahead, a sign glowing faintly above a door. Docking bay. That's it, Jared shouted, his voice echoing. But the mercenaries were close. Their leader's voice boomed across the bay. You cannot run, human. Hand her over and I may let you live. Jared didn't stop. His legs ached, his lungs burned. But he pulled Lyra faster. She stumbled, nearly falling. But he kept her upright. The docking bay door slid open slowly, sparks falling from the old system. Jared shoved Lyra inside just as a plasma bolt shot past his shoulder. The heat seared his skin. They collapsed behind a stack of fuel tanks. Both gasping for breath. The bay was vast, filled with broken ships and scattered tools. Jared's own small ship sat at the far end. Battered but functional, Lyra clutched his arm, fear shining in her silver eyes. They won't stop. They'll follow us even into the stars. Jared looked at her, his jaw set. Then we make them regret it. As the mercenaries stormed into the docking bay, weapons raised, Jared prepared himself. His ship was close, but so was death, and in that moment, he knew. Escaping this station would not be easy. It would be a fight for both their lives, a fight that had only just begun. The docking bay echoed with chaos. Sparks rained from broken lights above. Shadows stretched long across the metal floor. Jared and Lyra crouched behind the fuel tanks. Breathing fast, the mercenaries spread out, heavy boots striking in rhythm. Their glowing weapons scanned the dark corners of the bay. Searching, their voices were sharp, echoing in alien tones. Fan out. Don't damage the girl, one barked. The human is expendable. Lyra's grip tightened on Jared's sleeve. Her silver eyes glistened with fear. He's here, she whispered, her voice trembling. The one they call the Hunter, Jared frowned. The Hunter? She nodded, her whole body trembling. He is not like the others, he never fails. He is the one who captured me before. The air seemed to grow colder at her words. Then from the far side of the bay, the heavy doors slid open with a screech. A figure stepped through, taller and broader than the rest. His armor gleamed dark blue, lined with glowing red veins like fire beneath metal. The mercenaries fell silent as he entered. Lowering their weapons in respect, Jared's chest tightened. The Hunter's presence filled the entire room. His steps were slow but heavy, each one echoing like thunder. His helmet was shaped like a skull, eyes glowing crimson. Where is she? His voice boomed low and cold. It wasn't a question, it was a command. The mercenaries scattered, searching faster, opening crates and blasting shadows with their weapons. The Hunter remained still, his head turning slowly, scanning the bay like a predator who already knew his prey was cornered. Jared whispered to Lyra, "We need to move quietly." He glanced toward his ship. Sitting at the far end of the bay, its hull was dented and scratched, but it was their only way out. The distance looked impossible. The mercenaries stood between them and freedom, and now this Hunter blocked the path. Lyra shook her head, her voice barely audible. You don't understand. He can sense me. He feels the chain in my blood. Hiding won't save us. Jared's jaw clenched. He could hear the footsteps drawing closer. The mercenaries were sweeping their way toward the fuel tanks. If they stayed, they would be found. If they ran, they would be caught. The Hunter's voice rumbled again. Human, he called, his tone mocking. I know you are here, you think you are brave. But you are only delaying the inevitable. Hand her over. And perhaps I will let you live, Jared's heart pounded. His hand gripped the small knife strapped to his belt. His pipe was gone, his strength fading, but his voice came firm. You'll have to kill me first. The bay went silent. The mercenaries paused, even Lyra gasped. No one had ever spoken to the Hunter like that. From behind his skull-like helmet, the Hunter gave a low laugh, deep and chilling. So be it, he raised his gauntlet. And suddenly, the lights above exploded, plunging the bay into darkness. Only the red glow of the alarms and the mercenaries' weapons lit the room. Jared pulled Lyra to her feet. Now, he whispered, dragging her toward the crates. They weaved through the shadows, keeping low. The mercenaries fired blindly, beams scorching the floor. The Hunter didn't move. He simply turned his head slowly, his crimson eyes following them through the dark. Jared felt the weight of that gaze like fire on his back. They crawled behind a stack of cargo near the ship. Lyra's breathing ragged, Jared peeked around. The mercenaries were everywhere, but the Hunter still stood calmly at the center of the bay, waiting. Lyra clutched her chest, her voice weak. He's pulling me, the chain inside me. It reacts to him. Jared placed his hand on her shoulder, steadying her. Fight it. Stay with me. The bay shook suddenly as the hunter slammed his gauntlet into the floor. A shockwave rippled out, knocking over crates and sending Jared crashing to the ground. Lyra cried out as the strange energy burned through her veins, her silver eyes glowing brighter. The mercenaries cheered. She can't resist him. Jared pushed himself up, blood dripping from his lip. He dragged Lyra into his arms, lifting her despite the weight. Her body was light, fragile, but she burned like fire against his chest. The hunter began walking toward them. Slow and certain. "You cannot win, human," his voice growled. "She was never yours to save." Jared stumbled toward his ship. Weaving through debris, every step felt heavier. Every breath sharper, but he didn't stop. The mercenaries raised their weapons, firing. Jared dove behind the last row of crates, sparks showering down. The ship was only meters away, but the hunter now stood between them and the ramp. Lyra's silver eyes locked on the hunter. Glowing brighter with pain, her voice shook. "If he takes me, everything ends. You must not let him." Jared stared at the giant armored figure, his hand clenched tighter on his knife. He had no chance, he knew it. But he also knew one thing. He couldn't let Lyra go back into that cage. "Then we fight," Jared whispered, his voice steady even as fear crushed him inside. The hunter tilted his head, almost amused. His crimson eyes glowed brighter. "Very well, human. Let us see how long you last," and with that the hunter raised his blade. The sound of metal screaming through the bay. The final chase was over, now the real fight had begun. The hunter's blade cut through the air with a sound like tearing thunder. Jared pulled Lyra behind a stack of crates, the strike missing them by inches. Sparks exploded where the weapon hit. The floor glowing red-hot, Jared's chest heaved, his knife small and pitiful in his grip. He knew he couldn't match the hunter's strength. Still, he stood in front of Lyra, his body shaking but his eyes firm. The hunter tilted his skull-shaped helmet, crimson eyes burning. "Foolish human. You protect what you cannot understand. Do you even know what she carries?" Jared didn't answer. His focus was on survival. On keeping Lyra safe, he lunged forward, slashing with his knife. The blade scraped uselessly against the hunter's armor. The giant backhanded him, sending Jared crashing into a metal crate. Pain shot through Jared's body. He coughed blood but forced himself up. He would not stay down, not while Lyra still needed him. The hunter turned his attention to the girl. His deep voice echoed. "You cannot run from what you are, Lyra. Your blood is the key to everything. The chain of life, the chain of death. It belongs to us." Lyra's hands clutched her chest. Her silver eyes glowed brighter, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No, it is not yours. It is not meant for chains." Her body trembled, a soft light radiating from her skin. Jared saw it clearly now. Her very blood was alive, pulsing with strange energy. The glow spread across her arms like veins of silver fire. The hunter raised his weapon again. "You cannot fight it, girl. Your blood is destiny. And destiny cannot be denied." Jared staggered to his feet, his body screaming in pain. "Maybe not," he rasped. "But she has a choice." He grabbed Lyra's hand. Pulling her close, his touch seemed to steady her. Her glowing eyes softened, as if his human warmth gave her strength. Lyra's breath came in sharp gasps. "Jared, you must know the truth, my blood. It was made, not born long ago. My people sought to end disease. To heal the galaxy, they created the chain. They made me." Jared blinked, stunned. "Made you? You mean?" Lyra nodded, her voice breaking. "I am the last. The others were destroyed, but in me the chain survived. My blood can heal. Or it can kill. In the wrong hands, it will bring only death. Whole worlds twisted into experiments, armies built from my cells." The hunter's laugh rumbled like stone grinding. "Finally she speaks truth, and that is why she belongs to us. With her blood, empires will kneel, the galaxy will bow, and you, human, you cannot stop it." Jared's jaw tightened. He looked at Lyra, fragile yet glowing with power. "Then we make sure it doesn't fall into their hands." Lyra's tears sparkled as she stared at him. "You would risk your life for this? For me?" Jared gave a small, tired smile. "It's not about risk. It's about doing what's right." Before the hunter could strike again, Jared grabbed a fuel canister from the ground and hurled it toward the mercenary leader. Pulling his small blaster, he fired. The canister exploded, flames erupting. The shockwave threw them backward. The bay filled with smoke and fire. The mercenaries shouted, scrambling for cover. The hunter stood tall through the flames, his armor blackened but unbroken. His crimson eyes glared through the smoke. "We need to move." Jared shouted, pulling Lyra toward the ship. Her glow flickered like dying light. She stumbled, her voice weak. I can't keep it contained much longer if I lose control. Jared stopped, looking at her. What happens if you lose control? Lyra's silver eyes met his, filled with sorrow. The chain inside me spreads. It destroys everything around, friend and foe alike. That is why they keep me caged. That is why I begged you not to open the door. Jared's chest tightened. The weight of her words pressed hard. He had freed her, not knowing what danger she carried. But now, looking at her trembling face, he didn't regret it. We'll figure it out, Jared said firmly. Together, the hunter's voice cut through the fire. No, human, you will figure out nothing. You will die. He emerged from the smoke, his blade glowing red-hot from the heat. He swung it in a wide arc, smashing aside crates as if they were paper. The mercenaries regrouped behind him. Raising their weapons, Jared pushed Lyra up the ship's ramp, blaster fire raining around them. Sparks and flames lit the docking bay. He shielded her with his body, his mind racing. Lyra's glow grew brighter, uncontrollable. The silver veins across her arms pulsed wildly. She clutched her chest, her voice shaking. Jared, I can't hold it back much longer. Jared turned, eyes locked on hers. Then let it out, but not for them. For us, for survival. Her eyes widened. Fear mixing with hope for the first time. She didn't feel like a prisoner for the first time. Someone told her she could choose. The hunter raised his weapon for the final strike. The mercenaries fired in unison. The air filled with death, but Lyra screamed, a cry that shook the station. Her body erupted in silver light, blasting outward like a storm. The energy ripped through the air, shields shattering, weapons frying, mercenaries thrown back like rag dolls. Even the hunter staggered, his armor scorched, his blade dimming under the force. His crimson eyes narrowed, for the first time showing something new, fear. Jared held Lyra as the glow burned bright, whispering into her ear, You're not a weapon, Lyra. You're more than what they made you. Her light finally dimmed. Her body collapsing into his arms, Jared cradled her, his heart pounding. Smoke filled the bay, mercenaries groaning on the ground. The hunter retreating into the shadows. The battle was not over, but for the first time, Jared felt a spark of hope. He now knew the truth of her blood, and with that truth came a choice. Protect her, or let her fall into the hands of monsters. For Jared, the choice was already made. Smoke filled the docking bay. Firelight flickered against twisted metal. The mercenaries lay scattered, some groaning, some silent. But the hunter still stood, his armor cracked but unbroken. His crimson eyes burned through the haze. Jared held Lyra tightly in his arms. Her body was limp, her silver glow fading. She had unleashed a storm, but it had drained her completely. He lifted her carefully and moved toward the airlock on the far side of the bay. His ship was waiting there, freedom only steps away. But freedom would not come easily. The hunter's voice rumbled across the bay, deep and steady. You think you have won, human. You think her power makes you strong, but you are wrong. She cannot control it, she will burn you. As she burned us, Jared ignored him, pushing forward. His boots slipped on the scorched floor. His arms ached from carrying Lyra's weight. But he refused to stop, every breath felt heavy. But the thought of escape pushed him on. The mercenaries began to rise again, coughing and staggering, their weapons sparked. Damaged by Lyra's blast, but still dangerous, Jared's heart sank. They weren't finished, they would never stop. He reached the base of the ramp leading to the airlock. Setting Lyra down gently against the wall, he pulled the last of his explosives from his belt, small charges he had taken while scavenging the station. He placed them carefully along the crates and fuel tanks near the airlock. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, weak but filled with fear. What are you doing? She whispered. Buying us time, Jared answered, forcing a tight smile. If they want you, they'll have to go through fire first. Her trembling hand reached for his. You'll die, not if we're fast, Jared said, gripping her hand. Not if you stay with me. The hunter's heavy footsteps echoed closer. His massive form broke through the smoke. The mercenaries gathered behind him, their glowing eyes fixed on Lyra like wolves scenting prey. Jared raised his blaster, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. You want her? Come and get her. The hunter tilted his head, almost amused. Bravery will not save you. He raised his arm, and the mercenaries charged, weapons firing, their boots pounding like war drums. Jared fired back, his shots sharp and quick. Every bolt he fired was aimed not at their bodies, but at the explosives he had planted. The first charge detonated, fire roared across the bay, engulfing several mercenaries. The explosion shook the air, knocking others off their feet. Jared grabbed Lyra, pulling her back as debris rained down. The hunter staggered but did not fall. His armor glowed red with heat, his crimson eyes never leaving them. He advanced through the fire like a beast that could not be stopped. Jared's heart raced, sweat pouring down his face. His blaster hummed with overheating. He fired again, hitting another charge. The blast lit the bay, sending fuel tanks flying. The walls shook violently, the station groaning under the stress. Alarms screamed, warning of structural failure. The docking bay's atmosphere systems hissed as the walls cracked. Wind whipped through, pulling at loose debris. Jared shielded Lyra with his body as a crate flew past, smashing against the wall. Her silver eyes blinked open weakly, her lips moving. "You can't stop him, Jared. He is too strong." Jared pressed his forehead against hers, whispering, "Then we don't stop him, we escape him." With one final shot, he triggered the largest charge near the airlock. The explosion tore the bay open. A massive hole ripped into the outer wall. Air and fire sucked outward into the stars. The mercenaries screamed as they were pulled into the void. Jared grabbed the railing with one hand, holding Lyra tightly with the other. The wind howled like a beast, trying to drag them into space. His arms burned, his grip slipping, but he held on with everything he had. The hunter, however, did not move, his massive form anchored by magnetic boots. His crimson eyes glared at Jared across the chaos. His voice boomed, carried by his suit's comms. "Run, human, run as far as you like. You cannot keep her from me. I will always find her." Jared's teeth clenched. His arms shook, but he pulled Lyra closer, whispering into her ear, "Hold on. We're almost there." With a final surge of strength, he swung them both toward the ramp. Pulling Lyra up onto the platform, he hit the emergency controls, and the airlock door sealed shut behind them. Cutting off the roaring wind, silence fell, broken only by Jared's ragged breathing. He leaned against the wall, holding Lyra close. Her head rested against his chest, her breath faint but steady. For a brief moment, it felt like victory. But Jared knew the truth. The hunter was still alive. The mercenaries would regroup, and this was only the beginning. He looked down at Lyra, her fragile body glowing faintly. "We're not safe yet," he whispered. "But we will be, I promise." She opened her eyes, silver light flickering weakly, and whispered back, "You're different from them. You don't see me as a weapon." Jared brushed a strand of hair from her face, his voice quiet but firm. "No, Lyra, I see you as someone worth fighting for." The airlock lights flickered, signaling the ship's systems were powering up outside. The hunter's shadow still moved in the flames. Waiting, watching, the battle wasn't over. But Jared was ready. Whatever came next, he would stand, even if it cost him everything. The airlock sealed behind them with a heavy clang. The alarms dimmed, but Jared's heart still pounded like war drums in his chest. His arms trembled from holding Lyra, his body bruised and aching. The corridor leading into his ship was narrow and dim. Flickering with failing lights, Jared carried Lyra carefully, her head resting against his shoulder. Her silver eyes flickered open and shut, glowing faintly. "You're safe now," Jared whispered. Though he wasn't sure if it was true, Lyra's lips moved weakly. "No." "Not safe. He will come again." "He always comes," Jared gritted his teeth, ignoring the pain in his body. Let him try. He reached the cockpit, laying Lyra gently in the co-pilot's seat. Her frail body sank into it, her glowing veins pulsing like dim starlight. Jared sat in the pilot's chair, his fingers flying across the controls. The ship hummed weakly, its engines old and tired outside. Through the cracked viewport, the docking bay burned. The hunter stood in the flames, crimson eyes glowing through the smoke. He watched silently as Jared's ship powered up. His presence was heavy, a predator who didn't need to chase because he knew the hunt was endless. Jared swallowed hard, his hands gripping the controls. He fired the thrusters. The ship shook, pulling free from its moorings. The docking clamps snapped, and with a roar, they launched into the dark void of space. The stars opened before them, endless and silent, but Jared felt no relief. His chest still carried the weight of the hunter's stare. Lyra's hand trembled as she reached for him. "You should have left me. You don't understand what you've done." Jared glanced at her, his jaw set. "I understand enough. You were trapped. They were using you like a tool. No one deserves that. Her silver eyes filled with tears. But my blood, it destroys as much as it heals. It will bring death to anyone who tries to use it, even to you. Jared reached over, taking her fragile hand in his. Then we make sure no one uses it. We protect it. We protect you. Her lips trembled as if no one had ever spoken those words to her before. For a few minutes, silence filled the cabin. The stars drifted past, the hum of the engine steady. Jared let himself breathe, but then the ship's sensors screamed. A red warning flashed across the screen. Incoming vessel detected. Pursuer. Jared's eyes narrowed, his knuckles whitened on the controls. It's him, he muttered through the viewport. A massive shadow emerged from the burning station. The hunter's warship, black and jagged. Engines glowing blood red. It dwarfed Jared's small ship. Its guns locking on like hungry eyes. Lyra's breath quickened, fear rising in her chest. He will not stop. He will follow across stars, across worlds until he has me. Jared's jaw clenched. He knew she was right. He couldn't outrun that ship forever. His own vessel was too small, too slow, but giving her up was not an option. The warship fired, a blast of plasma tore past, shaking Jared's ship violently. Alarms blared, systems flickered. Jared fought the controls, forcing the ship into a dive. The stars spun as they weaved through the void. Hold on, Jared shouted, gripping the controls tightly. Lyra pressed her hand against the console, her silver glow flickering stronger. I can help, but it will burn me. No, Jared snapped, shaking his head. Not again, you nearly killed yourself back there. I won't let you do it. Her silver eyes locked on his, desperate. If you don't let me, we both die. Jared's heart twisted, his mind raced. The hunter's warship loomed behind them. Charging another blast, time was running out. He slammed his fist against the console, torn between choices. Save Lyra by refusing her help, or save them both by risking her life. His voice cracked, raw with emotion. I can't watch you die, Lyra. She squeezed his hand, her fragile fingers trembling. And I can't watch you die either. Let me choose this time. Jared's breath shook. He saw the fire in her silver eyes, the will to live free, not chained, not hunted for the first time. She wasn't begging to be saved, she was asking to fight. Slowly Jared nodded, his voice low but steady. Then we do this together. Lyra placed both hands on the console, her veins blazing silver. Energy surged through the ship, the lights brightening, the engines roaring louder than ever. Jared felt the ship respond as if alive, faster, stronger. The hunter's warship fired again, but this time Jared's ship spun like lightning. The blast missing by inches, he pushed the thrusters to full, the stars blurring around them. Lyra's body shook with the effort, but her glow burned steady for a brief moment. Hope sparked inside Jared's chest. They weren't helpless, not anymore, but the hunter's voice cut through the comms, cold and certain. Run, human, run across the stars. I will follow, I will take her, and when I do, your sacrifice will mean nothing. Jared's eyes burned with fury. He leaned toward the comms, his voice sharp as steel. If you want her, you'll have to go through me, and I swear you'll regret it. The comms fell silent. The warship loomed behind, but Jared's ship raced ahead. The stars stretching into streaks of light. He glanced at Lyra, her head bowed, her glow dimming, but her lips curved in the faintest smile. For the first time, she didn't feel like a prisoner. For the first time, she felt free. Jared tightened his grip on the controls, his voice firm. No matter what comes, Lyra, you're not alone anymore. Outside, the void stretched endless, the hunter's shadow followed. Relentless, the chase had only begun. And Jared knew this was no longer about survival, it was about choice, his choice. To stand between Lyra and the darkness of the galaxy, no matter the cost.